Good evening, SportsZonians. How's everybody doing out there tonight? I am Mike Aglioloro. I am your host for this is Sports Zone. Coming to you live like we do each and every week here via the I-95 Sports and Entertainment Radio Network, or if you're watching this on a Wednesday, we were live. We are coming on Zingo TV, brought to you by Blackjack TV and Bobby Guarente, the president and head of the I-95 Sports and Entertainment Radio Network and Blackjack TV. And we got a great show for you tonight. We'll be joined by Dave Hastings in a matter of minutes here. Hopefully we get Erich for a little bit towards the end, but it is possible he may not join us here tonight. It has been a slow sports week, but we still got a lot to talk about tonight. Obviously, the NBA off-season has winded down a little bit with no real major movement happening over the last week or so. Just a lot of news about players withdrawing from eligibility from playing on Team USA for their World Cup, which will be late September or going into late August going into early September. So we've heard a lot of news about players who were selected to be part of the player pool withdrawing from eligibility to that, and players being added to that process as a result of it. The latest names to back out of Team USA: Damian Lillard, DeMar DeRozan, joining a number of others who have withdrawn, and players who have taken their spots, such as Marcus Smart, Jaylen Brown, D'Angelo Russell, and Julius Randle, which is not really a surprise because the World Cup, it's not the same as the Olympics. So, and then you also have a number of players, Kawhi Leonard was one who dropped out too, wanting to get acclimated to their new teams as a result of the offseason. So you have that. NFL, you have training camps beginning. Baseball, we're about a week away from the baseball trade deadline. So you've heard a number of rumors about who's going to be available. The Mets sit 9 games under 500. They are virtually eliminated from wild card contention, even though they may still only be like 7 or 8 games out. For all intents and purposes, this season is over. Even though if you look at the scoreboard tonight, it's the bottom of the 6th inning, and the Mets are actually up 3-0, with Robinson Cano actually hitting 2 home runs to bring his batting average up to .251 on the season. So it's nice to see he's showing signs of life as the season continues to dwindle away. And of course, the Mets just lost 3 out of 4 games to the San Francisco Giants over the weekend. Lost 3 out of 4, 3 games they could have easily won, but the offense decided to go cold. And I say what I've always said about the team this season. In my opinion, even though they didn't show it this weekend, best offense the Mets have had in about 5 or 6 seasons. You have decent starting pitching. Syndergaard's thrown together a couple good starts. Matz has done decent recently. Wheeler's supposed to come off the disabled list this Friday. DeGrom has gotten his ERA under 3. So you have a good rotation. Vargas is pitching well tonight, so you have that. It's really all about the bullpen, and I still maintain that even if you traded away Jason Vargas and Todd Frazier, you could trade those 2 away and not throw in the towel on the season. But if you turned around and added about 3 or 4 decent relievers to the team, you might actually have a team that could be in contention there. So that's my opinion on that. And we're going to welcome Dave Hastings to the program tonight. Dave, how you doing?
Doing good, Mike. How about yourself?
Not too bad, not too bad. So as I mentioned earlier, been a bit of a slow sports week. So I'm going to let you start the ball. Anything that stuck out to you this week?
Well, NFL training camp is starting this week. So, really, I guess as Cowboy fans, if it's just me and you, the whole conversation about the idea of maybe Zeke holding out is starting to gain momentum. Dallas also released Allen Hurns today.
Here's the thing about Allen Hurns, because I saw that. he probably wasn't going to be ready for the start of the regular season anyway because of that injury he took in the playoffs, right?
So Dallas actually waited until he could pass a physical to release him. He already knew he was going to get released.
Mm-hmm.
But they wanted to let him heal up and get healthy so he could actually have an opportunity to sign with another team.
And, well, that was nice on their part to do that. But I think the issue was also, from what I heard, he didn't want to take a pay cut from his $6 million salary, right?
No, he did not. So it was either Dallas cut him, and I mean the good thing though is Dallas saves like $5 million in cap by cutting him.
No, that's good.
So
that's good.
For what they're trying to do, and maybe not have Zeke hold out, maybe they're making room.
Mm-hmm. And realistically, they should be fine at receiver anyway without Alan Hearn because you got Cooper, you brought in Randall Cobb, and trying to remember who else they have at wide receiver right now. You could probably name a couple more that I'm forgetting.
They got Michael Gallup and Tavon Austin.
Oh, it's funny. I thought they released Austin, but yeah, I like Gallup. Gallup looks like he's going to be pretty good to me.
Nice. I think he's a good compliment for Cooper personally, but I'm very curious to see what happens with the whole Zeke holdout. I mean, he still has this year and the 5th-year option. So Dallas still has his rights for 2 more years. And over those 2 years, I mean, he's looking at making almost like $17 million. It's not like he's getting shortchanged or anything. So I'm kind of curious, is it more for the long-term commitment that he's looking for? Or, that's what I'm curious to see. But, I mean, I think the real question is, do you see, to you, is Ezekiel Elliott worth the contract extension, or do you look at it more as you can replace a running back?
Well, I mean, you can replace a running back, but as we've seen over the last 15 years, I mean, with the Cowboys, it seems like you either get the stud running back or you get the running back by committee that just, for whatever reason, isn't as effective. Like that, the year before they brought Zeke in, I think it was the transition year between DeMarco Murray and Zeke. You had guys like Darren McFadden and Alfred Morris and a couple of guys like that who, they were good, but they just didn't have the same impact. So I see the arguments for both sides, but when you have a guy like Zeke, I mean, truthfully, considering that he's still kind of getting into off the field problems, like what happened a couple months ago that was recently said that, they weren't going to suspend him for it. I kind of get why they want to hold off. But let me ask you, because at the start of the regular season, we said, at the start of the off season, we said the Cowboys had all this cap space, and you have all these guys coming up for contract extensions, whether it's Dak, it's Zeke, it's Amari Cooper, DeMarcus Lawrence was in there, and maybe 1 or 2 others who I'm forgetting right now. Lawrence got his contract extension. None of the other guys got their contract extension. And you still got all this cap space. So what are you waiting for?
I mean, to me, it's really nothing more than the negotiation process, and this isn't Jerry Jones making these decisions anymore.
True. That's true.
So Steven's willing to negotiate and, be patient and have faith that, they'll get a deal done. And I personally like it. I think they should sign Zeke. You took him 4th overall not to have him for just 5 years.
I agree with that. I definitely agree with that.
You knew at some point or another, if he performed how you would hope your 4th overall draft pick would perform, and their contract comes up, you pay that person to continue performing.
Yep.
So
I agree with you.
To me, they signed Zeke. I don't think there's any, and not to mention, I think there's a difference in Prescott's confidence on the field when Zeke is out there with him, or even, he's made plays without Zeke. I'm just saying, in general, I think he's more confident with Zeke out there with him. I think they have a true friendship.
Yeah, I definitely see what you're talking about on that. I mean, they came in the league together. So if anybody on that roster is going to be tight, it would definitely be the two of them taken in the same draft. They've basically experienced everything together. And you saw the season that Zeke wasn't there, what a difference that makes for Prescott on the field. And just from an offensive perspective, you don't have anybody else at running back you're going to put in there and feel confident in running back. Like, I'm not even saying someone who's a star-level player like Zeke. I'm just saying someone who could be an adequate running back. You look at their depth chart right now, and it's like if he misses any time because of holdout, and I don't really think he'd miss time because of the holdout. It's not like a Jason Witten situation. It's like you're not going to bring DeMarco Murray out of retirement and put him on the field. I mean, you look at the depth chart, Tony Pollard, Mike Weber, and Jameez Olawale.
Well,
you feel confident? That's the fullback? Well, he's listed here as the fourth-string running back. So I apologize for that. I'm wrong on that. But do you have confidence in any of those guys taking over for Zeke?
Well, Pollard is actually I think Pollard really can be like, as a Cowboy fan, I think a good comparison to what he could be is almost like a Lance Dunbar.
Oh, okay. It's good to have one of those guys on the team.
He is one fast human being. He'll help them on special teams as well. But do I think any of them can be what Zeke is? No. I don't even think if you put their best talents all together combined, they could be what Zeke is.
I like the fact that you're comparing him to Dunbar, though. I was disappointed when they let Dunbar go. We haven't really had a guy like him since, so that's a good comparison to have right there.
Have you heard his name ever since they let him go?
A little bit that first year, but I see your point. I'm not disputing that. That's a good point. But, see, it's also like when Murray went to Philadelphia. Certain guys just play well in certain situations, and when they leave because they think the money's right or whatever, it hurts both sides a little bit. Like when Murray went to Philadelphia, and we might have talked about it at the time, who won in that situation? Neither team really won in that situation, at least for that year.
This is true.
Yeah. No. So I compare it to Daniel Murphy leaving the Mets as well, but we ain't going to get into that one. But I'll tell you one thing. We didn't really bring this up the last couple of weeks, but this was going on, and we'll bring it up tonight. We generally try to stay away from the off-field stuff because I don't think any of us really wants to talk about it, and I'm always cool with not discussing it. But the Tyreek Hill situation. They announced last week, I think it was, that the commissioner was not going to suspend him for anything, for everything that happened, whether it was the domestic violence incident that may or may not have happened, the two audio recordings that came out that definitely did not put him in a positive light. And I was a little interested when I heard that the commissioner wasn't going to suspend him. And I wanted to know how you felt about this because it seemed to me that Ezekiel Elliott got suspended for 6 games a couple of years ago, and there seemed to be a lot less proof that Zeke did something wrong than Tyreek Hill. Maybe I'm by myself in thinking that, but I wanted your thoughts on that.
No, you're not by yourself on that. I mean, the show at noon on ESPN with Chris Canty, they were saying the same thing. The biggest problem with the league, they're inconsistent. There's no way for anybody to have any clue or idea of what they're going to do. And you're 100% correct. There was far less evidence that pointed towards Zeke being guilty of anything, and he got 6 games. And, you know, there's actually like voice recordings and stuff of Hill basically threatening this woman and the child, and he gets nothing. So, I mean, even the person that did the investigation for the NFL for the Zeke investigation, they literally said this witness is not credible. So
would you have suspended Hill given all the evidence out there? If it was you on there, given everything that we've seen before from the NFL, would you have suspended Hill for 6 games?
I personally think if there's charges or an investigation being put forth by the police, I let them do their thing, and then from there, anything that puts you in the news in a negative light should just be an automatic 2-game suspension. But if there's nothing else to it, then move on.
What's a fair blanket policy? I like that one. Especially if the investigation concludes with no charges. You still get the 2-game suspension because you're damaging the credibility of the Shield and the whole thing. I like that. And then if anything else is found out, you get a first. That's a good policy right there. I like that.
Well, you do, conduct detrimental to the league, and there.
Yeah, well said.
It's over.
Yep. That's it. That's all you need. All right. Moving on. Do you have anything else, NFL-wise, NBA-wise, you'd like to talk about tonight?
I'm going to say that I really hate the NFL top 100 players list.
This is an ESPN list?
No, every year NFL Network does the top 100 NFL players of the year before.
Okay.
And it, voted on by the players. But it's just like nonsense. Like, what was his name? Carson Wentz got voted 97th best player in the league, and he played 4 games.
Well, let's take a look at this list because I'm trying to pull this up right here. Oh, is this list ongoing? This list isn't finished yet?
No. They literally air an episode once a week. Or once a day. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So they're only up.
Right, what made me bring it up is literally right now they're doing 90 through 81.
Okay. So let's take a. Okay, I see they got up to 88, and if you'll excuse me, the audio just started playing on my computer here, so I'm going to turn that off. Where is it? All right. So let's see what we got here. 88, Cameron Hayward, Devin McCourty, 89, Julian Edelman, 90. It's a little low.
Yeah,
TJ Watt.
MVP, 90.
Yeah. TJ Watt at 93, Wentz at 96, Byron Jones at 97, Derrick Henry at 99. Yeah, it'll be interesting. I mean, if that's who you're putting 88 through 100, are you getting like Joe Montana or something to come out of retirement so you can put him in the top 5, or what are you doing here?
No, it'll end up being, I guarantee you, Breeze is one of them.
Well, I mean, that's fair. That's fair.
I bet you Zeke will be one of them. Mike Thomas will probably be one of them.
Which Tom? Oh, Michael Thomas? Yeah. I can see that. Yeah,
Hopkins, Aaron Donald.
Would you put, as of right now, would you put a guy like A.J. Green above Julian Edelman?
From what I've seen for the last, 2 seasons? No. I would not put A.J. Green above Edelman.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I think, as much as Cincinnati's been falling off, it's not exactly like A.J. Green's been covering that, carrying that team anything. Anyway, so that's why I asked the question, because a guy like Julian Edelman, I mean, I know it's always the argument system over raw talent, but I think at the very least, Edelman's shown he's kind of deserved to be ahead of him.
Yeah, but we also know if A.J. Green was 100% healthy and played with Tom Brady,
oh yeah,
he'd be averaging 1,300 yards and 12 touchdowns a year.
Yeah, no doubt on that one. So, okay, that'll be interesting to see where. And it's funny because they have the rankings from the previous year on here. Carson Wentz was number 3 on this list a year ago, and he drops all the way down to 96.
Yeah,
that seems a little steep.
He only played 4 games.
I will say, I feel like Wentz has a lot of pressure on himself right now, just because of everything that went on with Foles. And the Philadelphia media can be almost as bad as the New York media. Any mistake he makes, they're going to be questioning whether or not Philadelphia should have kept Foles.
Well, that and gave Wentz the contract extension. Don't forget they did that as well.
Yeah, that's true. That is very true.
So, yeah, I agree, though. I think Wentz has a lot of pressure on himself. I think he's good enough to, put up and not, disappoint people. I think he's got that kind of skill level. But 3 years in the league, you've torn your ACL, and now you had a back injury. That's not a good projection for what's to come. But then again, you've seen guys have bad injuries and have a great career after that. So when it's all said and done, man, I for how much I hate the Eagles, I am all for entertaining football games, and if that means shootouts between Prescott and Wentz over the next 12 years, I will happily enjoy that ride because that'll be a lot of fun. You know what I mean? So, like, I can't sit here and wish ill against the guy. I really do hope he can stay healthy, but it would make me slightly worried about him.
Yep. No, I agree with you on that. It would be nice to see him stay through an entire season healthy. I could definitely agree with that. So we'll probably get into more with the NFL, and we could definitely revisit this discussion once this list is complete here. Let me ask you something, because this news came out today. We're not going to talk too much baseball, but you heard about Doc Gooden getting a DUI only 2 months after he was arrested for cocaine possession?
No, I did not.
Yeah, it's a pretty sad story to see this one continue to happen, because I know a couple of years ago when they did that ESPN 30 for 30 on him and Darryl Strawberry, there was a whole outcry around that time that Gooden didn't look like he was in good shape. I guess he had missed an appearance where it was supposed to be him and Darryl. Darryl had kind of came out and said that he felt like Gooden was still using, and it was kind of this whole big thing, and you really kind of hope that it was all for naught. And then you see these things happening. As a second arrest in 2 months, it's just, I wanted to mention this tonight just because it is sad to see his career, his life still going this way.
Yeah, I mean, it really is, because obviously, I did grow up with the guy. Like, it's not like he's just a name I've learned in the past couple of years. So, like, yeah, it is sad to see it, but it's one of the problems when people get money. I mean, some people just decide to do things with it that lead to dark paths, and they end up in bad places. And it sucks because you hope that you would have a support system to help you get out of it, but some people don't. And it's just a sad story, and you just hope you don't end up hearing, even worse news about him.
Yeah, well, supposedly he told the New York Post he was going away to try to get some help to save my life. I just hope it takes for him this time, because whatever happened with Darryl Strawberry, it seems like he's definitely gotten his life on track in some way. And I really just hope that this whole thing winds up being behind Gooden someday, because you always see hints that it could happen, and then something like this happens. And yeah, I don't even really know what else to say to it. So just wanted to bring that up. But I tell you what, because like I said, slow sports week. If you have nothing pressing else that you'd like to talk about, I have something not sports related that I would like to bring up. So do you have anything else?
No, but if it's about Homecoming or Far From Home, I still haven't seen it.
Well, it wasn't necessarily going to go that route, but I do think you need to see that movie, because that movie was pretty good. But no, did you pay attention to any of the news coming out of San Diego Comic-Con this week?
Oh my God, yes, I did.
Oh, okay, that is where I wanted to go. So let's talk about Marvel's Phase 4. Well, first of all, are you a fan of the Kevin Smith, Jay and Silent Bob movies?
Oh yeah, man, I saw the preview for that, and that looks like it's going to be fun.
Oh, I tell you what, I have always been a big fan of those movies. A couple of years ago, they said they were going to do a Clerks 3. And I never wanted them to do a Clerks 3, because Clerks 2 is like my favorite of all those movies, because to me, that was a perfect ending for what, if you think about it, is the first shared universe we ever really got in movies. And I thought that was the perfect ending to it. But when I heard this idea for the Jay and Silent Bob reboot, I was interested. I was intrigued. I heard it, I guess it came out like a year ago. They were talking about doing something like this. And that trailer looked really freaking good. I am really excited for that movie.
Yeah, I could see that one being quite entertaining. I
Yeah.
definitely could see it being a fun time. That's for sure.
And give some credit to Jason Mewes, because Mewes, like Doc Gooden, he got the money and the fame at pretty early age. I think he was like somewhere between 18 and 20 when the first Clerks came out. He went through his own struggles with drugs and everything. And Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back is considered the weakest of all those movies. And part of the reason why it didn't come out as good is because he was battling a heroin addiction through that entire movie. He's gotten his life cleaned up over the last 10 years. So it's nice to see him get his head on straight and be able to do something like this. And I heard about this a couple weeks ago. He actually directed his first movie that's supposed to be coming out on video on demand within the next month. So good on him for that. But yeah, I wanted to bring that up. Let's talk about this Phase 4 and my cousin just kind of cut to the chase in the chat room. You have the Black Widow movie coming out early next year. I believe that's the May 2021. You have the Eternals coming out in November of 2020, and then the 3 movies in 2021 are, and I might be going a little out of order here. Oh, Shang-Chi, the Master of Kung Fu. The movie is going to be called Shang-Chi, and I think it's the Mystery of the Ten Rings. And then you have Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, which is supposedly going to be the first horror movie in the MCU. And then you have Thor: Love and Thunder coming out in November of 2021, where they are going to bring Natalie Portman back, and Jane Foster is going to become the Lady Thor.
Yeah,
so what were your thoughts?
I was quite excited, to be completely honest with you. I think it sounds like a good lineup. Jane Foster going as Lady Thor, I think is actually kind of cool, to be completely honest with you. I think that's going to be pretty cool to see. I'm curious to see how they, jack her up.
She needs to get jacked for that movie, absolutely.
Yeah, so I'm kind of curious to see how they do that, but no, in all honesty, I think that's going to be a good movie. The guy that directed Thor Ragnarok's going to be the one directing that, which I think is awesome because that was my favorite Thor movie. So I was excited to hear that. I also think that Thor and Natalie Portman are actually pretty good together on screen. I think that's going to be awesome. The Doctor Strange is going to involve Wanda.
Scarlet. Yeah.
Going to have her involved, so that's going to be awesome. I'm excited. I really did get excited.
Yeah, I tell you this. I think the most surprising of all those movies they announced was the Thor one, because I kind of thought they'd be going with Guardians first, considering that at the end of Avengers Endgame, Thor leaves the Earth with the Guardians. I was surprised to see that, and I was even more surprised to see them bring Natalie Portman out, because I always thought that she was done with those movies. I always thought, the way I heard it was, she was kind of upset with Marvel because in Thor 2, Patty Jenkins, the director of Wonder Woman, was actually supposed to direct Thor 2, but she wound up leaving, and Natalie Portman was not happy with that. And I know a lot of people have not exactly been thrilled with Natalie Portman's performance in those Thor movies. So I never really thought we were going to see her back in a Thor movie again. So to see her back in a MCU movie period is crazy. But to see them go in the full Lady Thor storyline, I'm hoping they do it well. I'm hoping she does a good job, because I like Natalie Portman as an actress. So I hope she's able to show how good of an actress she really is in this movie. So, but I tell you, the one I'm most excited for, I think the Black Widow movie is going to be good. I'm interested to see Shang-Chi, because I think they're going to do this 100 times better than they did Iron Fist. So I definitely am looking forward to that. How about the Eternals movie, though? You see that cast they got together?
Yeah, the cast is amazing, and honestly, I know nothing about the Eternals. Like, I don't know anything about them, but what I will say is when they rolled out that cast, it made me more interested in the movie itself. and like what that's going to be and how that ties in with everything. And I think that's the part that Marvel has really well right now is they know if they continue with the formula that they used with the Infinity Gauntlet storyline, they're going to be able
the Infinity Saga, my friend. The Infinity Saga.
Well, I'm sorry, the Infinity Saga. But if they continue with that type of storyline of, each movie has its own story, but there's an underlying larger story unfolding, then they're going to keep the fans that they had in the last couple phases, and they're going to gain new fans as well.
Mm-hmm. And I just think they have a credibility right now that other studios don't have, because they put out so many movies where it really is you have something for everyone. And we saw this with Guardians, we saw it with Ant-Man, even the characters that people don't know about, because they've put out so many good movies to this point, people are going to come with them on the ride just to see something new. And this cast, Angelina Jolie, Kumail Nanjiani, Richard Madden, who, of course, was the King of the North, Robb Stark in Game of Thrones, Brian Tyree Henry from the TV show Atlanta. He was a voice in Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. Those are your top 4 guys, and then you have 3 others. You have the first deaf character who's ever going to be in the MCU. You have Don Lee, who I'm not going to pretend to know anything about as an actor, but supposedly he's a big Korean movie star. So, I mean, just off the top 4 names, they could carry a franchise just by themselves, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest question mark you'd have is, can you keep all those names willing to keep going? But, either way, I think that's going to be really awesome. And like your cousin just mentioned, the Blade casting, I wish I could remember his actual legal name.
Mahershala Ali. My cousin is referencing Remy Danton, which is the character he played in House of Cards.
That works for me.
Yep.
But no, I really truly think that's a good casting, and what I'm just praying for is they at least give Wesley Snipes a cameo. That's all I'm hoping for. He doesn't have to be cameo as Blade, nothing like that. I'm just hoping they give him a cameo. I think he deserves that, because I love those Blade movies that he did. I enjoyed all
that would be absolutely fantastic if he is able to join it. And Blade is going to be a part of Phase 5, which I feel like they're going to announce Phase 5 at D3 later in the year. But he made it here tonight, folks. He made it here for tonight. Erich Tressler is here. Erich, how you doing, buddy?
I'm hanging in there.
Good. Thank you for coming tonight, man. I appreciate it. So we're talking a little bit about the announcements that Kevin Feige made in regards to the future of the MCU at San Diego Comic-Con this weekend. Do you happen to see these?
Yeah, I'm not super thrilled about it. It's been all right.
Why are you not super thrilled about it?
Man, Black Widow prequel. I mean, we knew we were getting a Doctor Strange 2. I guess maybe I'm kind of most looking forward towards that one. Not sure how Thor 4 and the Natalie Portman as a female Thor is going to be. I'll tell you what, it's not that I'm against a female Thor, because I'm all for it. I just know Natalie Portman, she really didn't enjoy working on those Thor movies and really wanted to get away from it. And I think she just sees the success that it's starting to have now, and I don't know. I kind of wish that there was a different actor playing the female Thor.
Well, I'll tell you this. I actually just kind of brought up that stuff before you came on a few minutes ago, and I was saying that was the most surprising announcement out of that for me, because, like you, I didn't think she liked being in those movies either. So I agree with you on that one. But I'll give it a benefit of the doubt, though, because she's a good actress anyway. You've seen what she's done. She's an Oscar award-winning actress, so hopefully she brings that.
I'm more interested in, I guess, some of whatever's coming after that. Cause, I mean, I wanted the next Guardians installment. We'll see some other things. So, I mean, I don't know. It's just not anything that I'm like, oh my God, I can't wait for this next phase. I'm kind of like, this like a phase where I'm like, all right, I'll just see where they kind of go. Yeah.
Well, I tell you this, because we were talking about this a little bit in depth before you came in. What did you think about the Eternals casting announcements? That's the one that's coming out November of next year.
Yeah, it's all right. I'm all right with the casting. I mean, I like Angelina Jolie. I don't mind the casting announcements. I'll be interested to see the direction they take it, because it's, MCU is supposed to be going more cosmic, more multiverse, more interdimensional. So we'll see what happens there. But I think that there's I'm gonna go see them all.
Yeah,
but I'm just not necessarily like, oh my god, I can't wait for this or that.
Well, I'll tell you this.
It's kind of like I'm going to wait and see how they introduce really what's going to interest me next is how they introduce Fantastic Four and X-Men. And that's not happening anytime soon. So until that happens, I'm just not sure that I'm as invested as I have been the last few years.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, we'll get to that in a couple minutes, but I think part of the reason for what you're feeling, and truthfully, you're not the only person I've heard say that they weren't particularly excited. I feel like a lot of the announcements were things that we kind of already knew. They had kind of already been rumored, but nothing was confirmed. They didn't really confirm anything we didn't know about, other than the Thor movie. I don't think anybody really saw that one coming. So I can give you that one. What do we think about the Disney Plus shows announcements in that? Before we go to everything Feige said at the end, which is more towards the future, like you brought up the Fantastic Four and the X-Men, what do we think about the Disney Plus shows? You got Hawkeye getting his own spinoff. You have Bucky and the Winter Soldier getting their own spinoff with the return of Zemo from Civil War. WandaVision with a grown-up Monica Rambeau, who is the kid in Captain Marvel. You have the animated What If TV show, and which I'm looking forward to, actually. I think that's going to be pretty good. And I feel like I'm missing one. Was that 5? Loki. Loki's getting his own TV show, which, of course, picks up after he steals the Tesseract and goes away in the portal in Avengers Endgame. That'll be tracking that. What do we think about that? Dave, I'll start with you.
Well, I mean, I think for me, what I'm more excited about is maybe not any of the particular shows, just the fact that they're going to have shows that tie into the movie universe. And I think that's one of the, I think it's maybe the only complaint other than Iron Fist as a whole that I can actually make about the Netflix Marvel shows, was I felt like they really never touched on anything that was going on in the larger universe. So, but literally that's probably the only knock I genuinely have on the other shows, but Iron Fist.
Which I agree with you on.
So, I think that, because there's not one show I'm particularly like, oh man, I really want to see that and see what that's like. But, I think it's cool that they're going to tie in to what happens in the larger Marvel universe. I'm just curious to know where the hell Vision comes back from. I mean, that part just doesn't make any sense to me, but I guess they'll figure it out. So we'll see.
Mm-hmm. I'll tell you that I'm going to say that, and Eric, I'm going to throw to you in a second, but I have a theory. Because in the comic books, so Wanda and Vision are in a relationship, and then something happens where every time Wanda uses her power, she loses a little bit of her mind. And in the comics, they had a storyline called House of M, where Wanda's powers started to get completely out of control. So the Avengers and the X-Men met up to determine the fate of Wanda. And in a moment of weakness, Quicksilver, who's obviously still alive in the comics, takes Wanda, and they create an alternate dimension, which is the House of M universe, where Magneto and his children kind of rule the world. The mutants are the majority, and the humans are the minority, and it creates this whole thing. And when Wanda realizes she's been manipulated, she says no more mutants, and 90% of the world's mutant population vanishes. 90% of the world's mutants lose their powers. And I think they're going to do something like that in the movies to introduce X-Men. This is going to be a long-ranging storyline. But rather than her saying no more mutants, she's going to say mutants, and then we're going to have mutants, and then that's how they get around introducing all the mutants, because how do you bring in mutants as having existed on Earth this entire time when you haven't referred to them in the last 10 years? This would be how you get around that. So if it happens, please remember you heard it here first. Just like our NBA Jam discussion from last week became an ESPN meme over the weekend, as pointed out by Erich Tressler, which made me laugh to no end when you sent that, Erich.
Somebody's listening.
Yeah. What were your thoughts about these TV shows announcements?
I don't have much thoughts on the TV shows. I'll be honest. The only Marvel TV show I really ever got into was S.H.I.E.L.D. I'm still into it. See where it goes. I know next season's going to be the final season, season 7. But did enjoy S.H.I.E.L.D. I didn't get into the other ones. So these new ones, maybe not. We'll see what happens. Depends on, if I get the Disney streaming service or not, and see what happens there. As far as your theory goes, it's not a bad theory, but I also think that it's really easy for them to introduce mutants into this universe because of the multiverse theory now out there. So you can just say that it was a different universe, and bam, problem solved. Something happens, whether you have one of those, epic storylines where, universes are colliding and they got to all come together, or whatever, X-Men versus Avengers to save it all, and there they go, boom, they're introduced. So I think that there are other ways to do it, but your theory's not a bad one.
Thank you. My cousin actually agrees with you, because he put out the idea that you could use the multiverse to bring in X-Men. He said that maybe 10 seconds before you did. So you and him are on the same page there. Dave, what do you think?
I'll take either one.
There you go. Yeah. And that'll lead us to, so at the end of everything, after he introduced those 10 properties, he says, we didn't even get a chance to talk about the other stuff we got coming out. We didn't get a chance to talk about Guardians 3, Black Panther 2, Captain Marvel 2. Might have been one other that I'm forgetting out. And then he says Fantastic Four and Mutants, which of course are the X-Men. And I will say this, Cousin David, of course Marvel could do Dark Phoenix storyline better, but you will never see Dark Phoenix storyline in a movie again, because Fox completely ruined the idea, in my opinion. I would like to see X-Men in the MCU as much as anyone. I am a bit surprised that they are thinking about doing it this early, though, because I kind of thought they would have waited about 4 or 5 years before we even heard about the idea of X-Men. I definitely thought they were going to bring Fantastic Four in sooner, because it's been a long time since we've seen another movie, and I think people are ready for Fantastic Four. I will say this, though. Fox could have had their own MCU with the X-Men 10 years before the MCU ever existed. And because I'm such a big X-Men fan, that is what I wanted to see, because to me, you can have an entire universe of just X-Men movies. And as much as I would like to see the X-Men brought into the MCU, and I'm sure they'll do it very well, to me, it just won't be as special to see the X-Men in the MCU, because rather than them being the center of the universe, they'll just be another part of the universe. And to me, the X-Men are more special than that. So that makes me a little sad that Fox fucked it up as badly as they did. But that's just me, because I grew up with them. What do you guys think, though? And Erich, you were the one who brought it up first, so I'll go back to you.
Well, I don't have any opinions on it. I think Marvel will do just fine with the X-Men. It'll be the next phase. They needed new, characters, new stories to tell, new things to happen, and X-Men and Fantastic Four are perfect properties to pick up for that, and I think that the stories they'll develop, I'm sure, will be great. And kind of just waiting for that shoe to drop. Until then, it's just kind of a bunch of sequels, which, some of them I'm, interested to see where they go. I'm interested to see where Black Panther 2 goes. I'm interested to see where Doctor Strange and the Dark Multiverse goes, or whatever they're calling it. I got... the
multiverse of madness, my friend.
Yeah, the multiverse of madness, and I'm interested in what that could bring in. Like I said, I'm going to see it, but I'm not like I said, overly excited about this current group of stories. I'm waiting more for when they do introduce the X-Men and the Fantastic Four. And, yeah.
Dave?
I'm a big dork, man. I'm looking forward to all of it.
But here's the thing. I kind of like Erich's mindset because I almost feel like if you go in, I mean, as much as we all get excited for these movies and we have a good time for these movies, and I don't think there's any of them that we really felt were disappointments. Dave, I remember how you felt about Guardians 2. I remember how I felt about Thor Ragnarok. Regardless, we still have a lot of fun with these movies. I like the idea that you go into a movie with lowered expectations, because if you go into the movie with lower expectations, sometimes you have a better experience from it. Like, I know movies I've gone into just thinking, all right, just show me something. And then I come out of it feeling, wow, that was an amazing movie. Like Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. I wasn't expecting much from that movie. And then I left feeling that I just saw an amazing movie. So I get where Eric's coming from on that one. But I don't necessarily think that's a bad way to go into a movie. So, all right. With that, we got about 6 minutes left here. Erich, you got anything you'd like to bring up for tonight? Oh, I tell you what. Here's something I want to hear from you, Erich. So Odell Beckham did the GQ interview that they were talking about the other day, and he said something to the effect of he was surprised that he was traded because to him, he was the only reason why people cared about the Giants for the last couple of years, because they were still getting primetime games, even though they were terrible for the last 6 years. What were your thoughts when you heard this?
That he's dying for attention and is starving for the New York media to start covering him again. Because the media coverage in Cleveland is nothing like it is, and the media exposure and all of that. Odell ain't getting nothing in Cleveland. And he's bad-mouthing the Giants, you know. He pretty much said that, you know, he carried that team, you know, if I'm not mistaken. Didn't he say that in part of the interview, too? That
something like that.
Him,
yeah.
You know, the only draw and the only reason the fans showed up and this and that. He's a pompous, you know, egotistical wide receiver, diva wide receiver, and I'm happy that he's gone. Let Baker Mayfield deal with him. I'm sure they'll have a great season or two, and then I'm sure Odell will run his course there too. It's, you know, unfortunately that's what happens sometimes, and, you know, Odell Beckham cares more about his yardage, his touchdowns, and his stuff. He's already came out and said that he wants to, you know, have another 23,000 receiving yards in his career, and he wants to do this and that. And, you know, he's all about himself. He's all about his stats. And I can't wait for it to implode eventually there in Cleveland, because there's only one football, and Baker Mayfield's going to touch it more than anybody. But outside of that, you know, is Jarvis Landry going to be happy with his touches going down? Odell Beckham's going to have to share the ball more. They do get, you know, have a good run game with Chubb, and then they get Kareem Hunt back in Week 10. Are they going to be pass-happy, throw-first offense all the time, or are they going to try and save Baker Mayfield from getting hit? You know, it's a balance, and when Odell's not catching footballs, regardless of whether you're winning or not. So I'll be honest, Odell Beckham could say he did this and he did that and he was the greatest player, but how many playoff wins did he have? How many great, you know, playoff appearances did he have? None. You know, I'll tell you what, you were great, but you really weren't that great. He wasn't a team player. He didn't make the other players around him better.
Agreed.
He just was a great player. So let Cleveland have him, you know, sayonara. But I think this is just a desperate attempt to garner up some attention coming into training camp, because he's not used to the media not covering him, you know, like the New York media covers him.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. And I tell you this, Cleveland has more pressure on them as a franchise than they have ever had since they restarted the Cleveland Browns in '99 right now. They have a great roster of talent. Can that roster coexist? Because I tell you right now, anything less than a Super Bowl is going to be a disappointment for that team right now. Especially,
I disagree with those odds, or that expectation of that team.
You look at what they put together right there, though.
Yeah, but their offensive line isn't as good as it was last year.
Yeah, but you look at what they've put together with the defense, all the offensive talent they have right now, the way they are talking right now, the way you've seen everyone kind of come out between the comments with him and Baker Mayfield, anything other than a Super Bowl is going to be a disappointment for that franchise right there. And right now, they are no longer the darlings of the league. Everybody is going to be gunning for them right now with the way they have composed themselves this offseason, at least in my opinion. Dave, let you chime in, and then we got to get out of here. So what do you got to say to that?
Oh, I mean, first of all, the one thing I agree that Odell's a diva, and basically not everything you guys said about him and coming out of that article. But one thing to just keep in mind, he also did that interview just a month after he got traded. So it's not
which is fair.
He didn't just do the interview yesterday or last week or something like that. So it was still kind of fresh. So I'll give him that part of it, but I still agree with everything you guys said about him. So it really doesn't matter that I want to give him that. But either way, I think that when you look at Cleveland, I think for them, their expectation should be trying to win the division, trying to make the playoffs. That's kind of where they should be at. They still need to develop more as a unit. And like I said, that offensive line lost a key piece to it in the trade with the Giants. So, yeah, I don't think it's Super Bowl or bust for them. I would say that it's more of you better have a winning record. That's for damn sure.
Absolutely. All right. So with that, Dave, Dave Hastings, I'm gonna take that as your last word because we only got about a minute left here. Erich Tressler, final thought. Stay sweaty, my friend. 1 year since the passing of John Schnepp, so rest in peace to him. Final words, very quickly, Erich.
Shane Lowry, I believe is his name, on the Open this past weekend. I'm not sure if you guys mentioned that. Baseball going on, training camp starting. It's
all right.
It's the dawn of a new season. Stay sweaty, everyone. Until next week.
Till next week. Thank you guys for being here. Thank you, Cousin David, in the chat. Thank you, everybody, for listening. I am your host, Mike Aglioloro. Thank you all for listening. We will see y'all next week.